Vietnam is located on the eastern margin of the Indochinese Peninsula and occupies about 331,211.6 square kilometers, of which about 25% was under cultivation in 1987. It borders the Gulf of Tonkin, Gulf of Thailand, and Pacific Ocean, along with China, Laos, and Cambodia. The S-shaped country has a north-to-south distance of 1,650 kilometers, 1,030 miles, and is about 50 kilometers, 31 miles, wide at the narrowest point Quang Binh. With a coastline of 3,260 kilometers, 2,030 miles, excluding islands, Vietnam claims 12 nautical miles, 22.2 kilometers, 13.8 miles, as the limit of its territorial waters, an additional 12 nautical miles, 22.2 kilometers, 13.8 miles, as a contiguous customs and security zone. It has an exclusive economic zone of 417,663 square kilometers, 161,261 square miles, with 200 nautical miles, 370.4 kilometers, 230.2 miles. The boundary with Laos was settled on both an ethnic and geographical basis between the rulers of Vietnam and Laos in the mid-17th century. The frontier with Cambodia, defined at the time of French annexation of the western part of the Mekong Delta in 1867, remained essentially unchanged. The land and sea boundary with China, delineated under the France-China Treaties of 1887 and 1895, is the frontier line, accepted by Hanoi. China agreed in 1957 to 58 to respect that border line. The country is divided into the highlands and the Red River Delta in the north, the Annamite Range along with the coastal lowlands in the center, and the Mekong Delta in the south. Terrain. Vietnam is a country of tropical lowlands, hills, and densely forested highlands, with level land covering no more than 20% of the area. Red River Delta. The joint delta of Hung River, Red River, and Tai Ben River is a flat, triangular region of 15,000 square kilometers. The Hung River Delta is smaller but more intensely developed and more densely populated than the Mekong Delta. It advances 100 meters into the Gulf annually. The ancestral home of the ethnic Vietnamese, the Delta accounted for almost 70% of the agriculture and 80% of the industry of North Vietnam before 1975. The Red River, rising in China's Yunnan province, is about 1,200 kilometers long. Its two main tributaries, the Song Lo, also called the Low River, the Rivière Claire, or the Clear River, and the Song Da, also called the Black River or Rivière Noire, contribute to its high water volume, which averages 4,300 cubic meters per second. The entire delta region, backed by the steep rises of the forested highlands, is no more than 3 meters above sea level, and much of it is 1 meter or less. The area is subject to frequent flooding. At some places the high water mark of floods is 14 meters above the surrounding countryside. For centuries, flood control has been an integral part of the delta's culture and economy. An extensive system of dikes and canals has been built to contain the Red River and to irrigate the rich rice-growing delta. This ancient system has sustained a highly concentrated population and has made double-cropping wet rice cultivation possible throughout about half the region. Mountainous. The mountain plateaus in the north and northwest are inhabited mainly by tribal minority groups. The Dai Truong Son, Annamite Range, originates in the Tibetan and Yunnan regions of southwest China and forms Vietnam's border with Laos. It terminates in the Mekong River Delta north of Ho Chi Minh City, formerly Saigon. These central mountains, which have several high plateaus, are irregular in elevation and form. The northern section is narrow and very rugged. The country's highest peak, Phan Xipan, rises to 3,142 meters in the extreme northwest. The southern portion has numerous spurs that divide the narrow coastal strip into a series of compartments. For centuries, these topographical features not only rendered north-south communication difficult but also formed an effective natural barrier for the containment of the people living in the Mekong Basin. Central Highlands. Within the southern portion of Vietnam is a plateau known as the Central Highlands, Thanh Nguyen, approximately 51,800 square kilometers of rugged mountain peaks, extensive forests, and rich soil. Comprising 5 relatively flat plateaus of basalt soil spread over the provinces of Dak Lak, Gia Lai, and Kon Tum, the highlands account for 16% of the country's arable land and 22% of its total forested land. Vietnam had maintained that the Central Highlands and the Dai Truong Son were strategic areas of paramount importance, essential to the domination of South Vietnam. Since 1975, the highlands have provided an area in which to relocate people from the densely populated lowlands. Coastal lowlands. The narrow, flat coastal lowlands extend from south of the Red River Delta to the Mekong River Basin. On the landward side, the Dai Truong Son rises above the coast, its spurs jutting into the sea at several places. Generally, the coastal strip is fertile and rice is cultivated intensively. A recent global remote sensing analysis suggested that there were 3,069 square kilometers of tidal flats in Vietnam, making it the 10th ranking country in terms of how much tidal flat occurs there. Mekong River Delta. The Mekong Delta, covering about 40,000 square kilometers, is a low-level plain not more than 3 meters above sea level at any point and crisscrossed by a maze of canals and rivers. So much sediment is carried by the Mekong's various branches and tributaries that the delta advances 60 to 80 meters into the sea every year. An official Vietnamese source estimates the amount of sediment deposited annually to be about 1 billion cubic meters, or nearly 13 times the amount deposited by the Red River. About 10,000 square kilometers of the delta are under rice cultivation, making the area one of the major rice-growing regions of the world. The southern tip, known as the Ca Mau Peninsula, is covered by dense jungle and mangrove swamps. The Mekong, which is 4,220 kilometers long, is one of the 12 great rivers of the world. From its source in the Tibetan Plateau, it flows through the Tibetan and Yunnan regions of China, forms the boundary between Laos and Myanmar as well as between Laos and Thailand. At Phnom Penh it merges with the Tunnel Sap and divides into 2 branches, Hao Giang River, known as the Ba Sac River on the Cambodian side, and Ting Giang River, and continues through Cambodia and the Mekong Basin before draining into the South China Sea through 9 mouths known as the Q Long, 9 Dragons. The river is heavily silted and is navigable by seagoing craft of shallow draft as far as Kampong Cham in Cambodia. A tributary entering the river at Phnom Penh drains the Tunnel Sap, a shallow freshwater lake that acts as a natural reservoir to stabilize the flow of water through the lower Mekong. When the river is in flood stage, its silted delta outlets are unable to carry off the high volume of water. Floodwaters back up into the Tunnel Sap, causing the lake to inundate as much as 10,000 square kilometers. As the flood subsides, the flow of water reverses and proceeds from the lake to the sea. The effect is to reduce significantly the danger of devastating floods in the Mekong Delta, where the river floods the surrounding fields each year to a level of 1 to 2 meters. Area. Total, 331,210 square kilometers, 127,880 square miles. Land, 310,070 square kilometers, 119,720 square miles. Water, 21,140 square kilometers, 8,160 square miles. Area, comparative. Slightly larger than the state of New Mexico in the United States. Somewhat less than half as big as New South Wales, Australia. About 1 1/3 times the United Kingdom size. Land boundaries. Total, 4,639 kilometers, 2,883 miles. Border countries, Cambodia 1,228 kilometers, 763 miles, China 1,281 kilometers, 796 miles, Laos 2,130 kilometers, 1,320 miles. Coastline, 3,444 kilometers, 2,140 miles, excludes islands. Maritime claims. Contiguous zone, 24 nmi, 44.4 kilometers, 27.6 miles. Continental shelf, 200 nmi, 370.4 kilometers, 230.2 miles, or to the edge of the continental margin. Exclusive economic zone, 417,663 square kilometers, 161,261 square miles, 200 nmi, 370.4 kilometers, 230.2 miles. Territorial sea, 12 nmi, 22.2 kilometers, 13.8 miles. Elevation extremes. Lowest point, South China Sea 0m. Highest point, Fansipan 3,144 meters, 10,315 feet. Rivers. Longest river, Dong Nai River, longest inland river, 586 kilometers, 364 miles. Lakes. Biggest lake, Bobby Lake 6.5 square kilometers, 2.5 square miles. Natural resources, phosphates, coal, manganese, rare earth elements, bauxite, offshore oil and gas deposits, timber, hydropower. Land use. Arable land, 19.64%. Permanent crops, 11.18%. Other, 69.18%, 2011. Irrigated land, 45,850 square kilometers, 2005. Total renewable water resources, 864.1 cubic kilometers, 2011. Freshwater withdrawal, domestic/industrial/agricultural. Total, 82.03 cubic kilometers per year, 1%/4%/95%. Per capita, 965 cubic meters per year, 2005. Environmental concerns. Natural hazards, occasional typhoons, May to January, with extensive flooding, especially in the Mekong Delta. Environment, current issues, logging and burn agricultural practices contribute to deforestation and soil degradation. Water pollution and overfishing threaten marine life populations. Groundwater contamination limits potable water supply. Growing urbanization and human migration are rapidly degrading environment in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. Climate change. Climate change in Vietnam is having considerable environmental, economic, and social impacts. Vietnam is among the most affected countries by global climate change. A large number of studies show that Vietnam is experiencing climate change and will be severely negatively affected in coming decades. These negative effects include sea level rise, salinity intrusion, and other hydrological problems like floods, river mouth evolution, and sedimentation. Natural hazards such as cold waves, storm surges will increase in frequency, with negative effects on the country's development, infrastructure, and economy. Some issues, such as land subsidence, caused by excessive groundwater extraction, further worsen some of the effects climate change will bring. Sea level rise, especially in areas such as the Mekong Delta. The government, NGOs, and citizens have taken various measures to mitigate and adapt to the impact.